I don't know, do you want to get something delivered? And she's like, why would I want to eat liver? I don't even like liver. I'm like, no, I said deliver. She said, I heard you say liver. I'm like, I should know what I said. She's like, whatever, I just don't want any liver. Hey, everybody. Glad to see you made it to the stream here. Brian Zane, it's Saturday night, and we're feeling all right. You know, I'm sorry that I didn't give you my live SmackDown review the night before. I figured I needed that night off. And tonight, after I got done watching the show, kind of later, behind the live feed, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make up for that on Friday and do my live review tonight with AEW Full Gear 2020. I haven't hit enough ums and ers on camera this week, so I need to hit that quota. That's what we're here to do here with my review for Full Gear. And we're just going to get right to it, folks, beginning with the finals of the World Title Eliminator Tournament. There's the first one. Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. And the big shock right off the bat here, Don Callis is on color commentary for this match. Yes, Impact Wrestling head booker and EVP or whatever how they called him the lower third, Don Callis. And I still cannot, wrap my head around the fact that between the hype package from this past week on Dynamite and now seeing the head booker of Impact being on part of AEW programming, it's like, 2020 has just been crazy for like the things we've seen in wrestling and alliances and whatnot. Never say never is the biggest takeaway I got from that. This match is great, I think. Hangman catching Omega early on as he's climbing the top turnbuckle, hits a superplex. It's kind of a cool little spot. Big moonsault off the barricade by Omega when they're outside. They're trading one-winged angel attempts at one point, which I think is great. Some hard-hitting stuff. Like by the end, they're just slugging the shit out of each other. It's so fun. Omega spikes Page with the Tiger Driver 98, and there's a kick out. And then Page counters eventually with the Deadeye. There's kickouts from that. We almost get the Bretton Bulldog finish at one point where the sunset flip turns into the sit on him, but we get a close 2 count there. Page he fights to get that buckshot in a couple of times, but ultimately Omega is able to counter out of it. There's some V-Trigs. That's my new name for the V-Trigger, V-Trigs. Page fights really hard to get out of that one-winged angel, but ultimately he is knocked out with it, goes down hard. Omega wins. I have my note here. Omega wins and wins is what I wrote in my note. Well, he does that, and he also does that as well. He wins, and he becomes the new #1 contender, is what I meant to write. This is a fantastic opening match. I gave it 4 stars out of 5. I think it was just excitement from the get-go. No nonsense, lots of big exclamation points. My one big knock on this matchup here, and maybe this has to do with the long-term storytelling they're doing with Page's character, but I feel that except for Page's facial expressions after the match is over, when he loses, I was kind of surprised by the lack of emotion in this one. This is the former tag team partners. They had kind of a weird, awkward breakup. That might be why I felt no emotion on this one. I figured this whole angle was kind of, I don't know what to make of the storyline because they had this really slow build, at the beginning of the year. Then the pandemic happened and screwed a lot of stuff up, especially that storyline because Paige was off TV for so long. And then they came back, and then I felt that their breakup, their big blow up for that was just really kind of like that's what we're gonna get out of it. And so now we see this match. There has to be some long-term storytelling with Paige. We are not seeing the payoff to just yet, but I just wonder how much more patience fans will have for it before we get some kind of conclusion. And I'll allude to that again later on from what we see in the tag title match later. Our next match sees Orange Cassidy versus John Silver. This was originally on the buy-in, the pre-show, but then when they added the NWA women's title match, they decided to move this one up. This is a good match. I mean, I think this is a match you could find on Dynamite. Oh, there's my phone. I meant to silence this sucker. Hoo-hoo. Professionalism. All right. So, like I said, I think this match could have gone on Dynamite. This was like a good mid-card match. I just, don't know what it had to do with this being on pay-per-view. per se. There's some silly moments at the beginning with the pockets and the thumbs up early on, and this look on John Silver's face from the thumbs up is some pretty great stuff. John Silver rips the pockets out of Orange's pants. The bastard! I could not believe that. Silver then begins to do some legitimate stuff in the ring, like throwing Orange around and whatnot. Cassidy comes back, runs Silver along the post, hits a big DDT. I love when Orange is making his comeback and he's going back and forth in the turnbuckles. Those corner cameras are catching all of it. I think that's pretty cool use of the remote control cams that are on top of those turnbuckles. Silver with a one-handed gorilla press, which I was very impressed by seeing. I've never seen like one-handed before. Some really fun back and forth in this thing. Cassidy hits the Orange punch and the beach break to win. I give it 3 stars. I think it was a good blend of the comedy at the beginning and the straight up wrestling by the end, playing it straight by the end there. I think it's good to see them take their feud on the indies and having it transition to AEW. That's kind of a cool story, you know, indie guys making it big on pay-per-view. I've officially seen more John Silver in this match than I have ever at this point. Like, I don't watch. I know, like, a lot of his appeal seems to come from BTE, which I admittedly don't have time to watch during the week. So it's like, I know that's like the Johnny Hungy stuff. I know that he is, you know, big over in that kind of, when they show the Dark Order stuff backstage. But I mean, like, this is the most I've seen of him. I like what I see. I hope they take more of that character that we do see him being the Elite and actually put that on Dynamite where more people can see it and understand why he is this way, you know? Then our next contest is one of my favorites on the night. TNT Championship as Cody Rhodes defends against Darby Allin. Yes, he went by Cody Rhodes. He got the name back. This is his first time for first night being introduced under his full name again. You love to see it. I think it's very cool. I think, but one kind of silver lining about him going without the name for as long as he did, I think that he proved he didn't need his last name to get over. Obviously his connection and his family name got him his foot in the door. I think he had a lot to overcome in the years after he debuted, but him going by Cody after he left WWE, going to Ring of Honor and New Japan and now AEW for so long, I think he was able to prove that he can get by on his own merits. And I think that's very admirable. But good for him for going back by Cody Rhodes again. It always felt kind of missing something when you wrote down the word Cody. It's size versus speed early on. Actually, I will say I just couldn't get over how ridiculous Cody's entrance has gotten. I mean, it always had the pomp and the circumstance and the pyro, and now he comes out with the entire increasingly growing Nightmare family. They just added Billy and Austin Gunn for whatever reason. It screams a total heel move. If he doesn't turn heel with this kind of look, I don't know what they're doing, because it just feels very like almost yeah, it's very stereotypical. Like he's a big video game boss almost. He's got the whole entourage with him. Yeah, size versus speed. Cody hurls Darby out of the ring at one point. He lands on the ramp arm first. That's a big story here. Cody working on Darby's arm. Darby's armby a lot. By the way, somebody asked in Super Chat. Somebody asked in the chat if I will read Super Chats at the end. I will. So just, you know, you can post them now and I'll read them at the end, like I normally do for live streams here. Cody is working the arm a lot, like I said. A great block of Darby's signature springboard arm drag he usually does. Just puts him down there. Cody gets cocky with the push-ups, though. He's letting the mask slip a little bit. He's kind of like getting full of himself. Hammerlock slam off the second rope, which is something I've never seen before. Crossroads off the top by Cody, which was very scary and impressive. Darby's arm is just under the ropes, and so there's a rope break there. Again from the second rope, Darby is like on Cody's back with the chin lock, but he gets squished by him. That can't be fun. I know, speaking from experience, that bump's not fun from a standing position, like on the canvas. So I can't imagine how it felt from like the top rope or the second rope, like Darby was there. Cody is mad after Darby keeps kicking out. He grabs the belt. Don't make him get his belt, boy. Darby fights out of it, though. A last supper and a kick out. Hits the coffin drop. We get a 2 count as well. And then the match ends a very kind of old school way. I really like this. A series of roll-up counters, ending with Darby pinning Cody to win. And kind of an upset and becoming the new champion. And the pop that this, you know, it wasn't a sellout at Daly's Place, but it sounded like it after Darby won. And I think that's the key right there. I think that really was a big win. And I think that Darby, I said this last year, I think a lot of people said it too, but I remember like sitting with good mic work with Greg when I was in San Diego around this time last year, and we were watching one of the first episodes of Dynamite, and we could tell right away, man, Darby's going to be like the next like big star, in AEW, and like they waited a long time to pull the trigger on it, a full year and like 4 matches between he and Cody, and in that time, I think it's clear to say that like Darby is a star now. Specifically thanks to his matches with Cody. I think that above all else has helped elevate him, and so I think that's a really great move for him to become the champion. Cody takes the knee and hands him the belt. Their big "You deserve it" chant. I give it 4.5 stars was my rating for this one. I love the match. I love the story, building up from their previous encounters, the escalating physicality, and the risks. I thought made it just really dramatic and a great old school ending, I felt. And like I said, damn, has Cody ever elevated Darby over the last year. After the match, Taz shows up and berates them both on the stage. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks jump them from behind, beat them both down. This is the Team Taz presence that Taz promised on Dynamite last week. We get some teased tension between Cage and Starks over the TNT Championship, which made me realize, hey, like, what is the deal with Brian Cage being the FTW champion? What's the point? But anyway, there's this tension. Taz just takes the belt for himself. All 4 of the guys brawl on the outside. Darby is thrown into the conveniently placed full gear sign they have. It was the exact same, not the same spot, but it just reminded me so much of the Moxley Omega match last year, where it's oh, here's this random set piece that we were just very conspicuously showing you and doesn't really fit with the rest of the set, but we're going to throw someone through it, by God. And sure enough, that's what happened with Darby. So then they tease breaking Darby's arm in the car door. Suddenly Will Hobbs shows up with the chair and makes the save. He kind of dinks the car door though, so almost like he could have fucked up and messed up Darby's arm anyway on accident. But I thought that was cool there. Kind of, again, will he, won't he join Team Taz for Will Hobbs? And I think it was really cool. I mean, yeah, great match, and the post-match stuff was very dramatic as well. Backstage with the Natural Nightmares, we get the promo. I like that. Well, we were deprived of this interview last week on Dynamite, so here it is now on pay-per-view. And so QT Marshall accusing Allie of using the Nightmare family as a name to get ahead. Yeah, that's pretty much what she did in storyline. Then Dustin Rhodes talks about their match with Butcher and Blade next Wednesday, and he wants to make it a bunkhouse match, which I'm very excited about. Dustin, he put on his good face paint for this promo here because he was fiery. I love his promos so much. Dustin's so good. So we got bunkhouse match next Wednesday. That's pretty rad. Looking forward to that one. Hang on. H2O break. I also liked when they were previewing the Wednesday matches. They previewed that one, a couple more, and one of them was we have this women's match here, this mid-card women's match featuring two, Ty Conti and Red Velvet. Here's this match where it's as far as I can tell, there's no build, unless there's something on Dark I've missed. But after all the complaining about the lack of attention to women's division, here's this match of the 2 women who we don't push normally, and then we're going to forget about it by next week, is what I'm guessing. We go to, speaking of women's matches, we go to the women's title match right now. Hikaru Shida defending against Nyla Rose. It's a rematch from Double or Nothing, not All Out, like I so erroneously said in my predictions video earlier this week. So I apologize for that. Also, I popped big for Nyla's Mega Man inspired gear. That was really cool. Guns blazing from the word go here. I love Shida's aggression here during this matchup. It is very similar, reminiscent to the Double or Nothing match in a lot of ways here. Vicky Guerrero, though, she cheats. She hits Shida from behind with a kendo stick at one point. Really cool use of the ring frame as a weapon as Nyla wraps Hikaru's leg around the frame. That's kind of cool. I don't want to spoil the illusion of the rings, but I think it's important to show, hey, this ring's not a trampoline. And it's kind of cool because you don't often see the underside of a ring under the apron and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool using the ring in that way. There's a knee claw at one point. Actually, before the knee claw, I was really impressed by Shida's delayed-looking suplex. It's a straight vertical suplex, but the size difference is just so. It's there's this delay. You think it's going to turn into a brain buster if she slips. Then there's the knee claw, which that was different. I don't think I've seen a knee claw before. And then there's the big knee drop into Shida's leg. Shida with a couple of missile drop kicks while selling her bad wheel. I think like she did a good job still kind of getting over the fact that she has like a bad leg in this matchup. Powerbomb by Nyla, and then she pulls up on the pin, which I feel like just what I'm saying. I think we've seen that spot too much in wrestling as of late. You know, she does the same thing where she has Nyla beat, but then she pulls her up. Like, why did she do that after the Avalanche Falcon Arrow? She goes for her own knee, but Vicky goes for a trip, but they fuck it up, but they have to play it off anyway. They fight on the outside. Aubrey Edwards takes Vicky's kendo stick, and then there's an accidental collision. Vicky takes a bump. Vicky Guerrero takes a bump on the floor from Nyla Rose. I never thought I'd say that in 2020, but here we are. Back in the ring, multiple kickouts. Shida with many, many knees, or as Korchenko the Russian might say, minty, minty knees. And he finally covers her, she finally covers her, I should say, and pins to retain. I give it 2.5 stars for this one. I dug the aggression. Like I said, I think that Shida performed really well in this match, but I think they tried getting a bit too clever in the end. I think they were trying to pile on like falsies and stuff like that, and some of the extra stuff they did like didn't look great. The pull-up spot, I'm getting sick of it. I've been seeing a lot of that lately, just in all of wrestling lately. I think it's overdone. And yeah, Vicky Guerrero getting involved just didn't look good. I mean, Vicky's not a wrestler, and so when she does that kind of stuff, she doesn't move like a wrestler. So I think that, you know, it's been sparing at best, but I just don't think it worked here. After the match, Vicky screams at Nyla. Nyla gets mouthy. Vicky slaps her. Then Nyla just backs down fairly quickly, and she's like totally docile after that, which I thought was kind of a surprise, because you figure when a manager slaps a wrestler after a match, the breakup is just most definitely assured, right? But we didn't get that here. Maybe it's a slow burn, but this was probably the weakest point of the show, in my opinion. But then, after the weakest point, it's always darkest before the dawn, and so you've got to have the not so great before you go on to the great, and that was this next match, AEW Tag Titles, as Fitter, the FTR. There's no SCU, so I can't say Fitter Scoo, but FTR defending against the Young Bucks. And Matt Jackson is working with a legitimately injured leg. He said he was good to go for this match, though, so we'll see how it all pans out. I love FTR's tracksuit game, by the way. As someone who knows a thing or two about tracksuits, I have to compliment FTR on their fabulous tracksuits they came to the ring with here. And by the way, Tully Blanchard is barred from ringside. FTR, it's like the first like couple minutes is definitely like contrast of styles, establishing what they can do. FTR slow and methodical, and Matt and Nick do the flips and whatnot. Their quick moves in. Dax busts his hand legitimately on the ring post, has to get wrapped up by the doctor as the match is going on. Moonsault attempt by Matt backfires and his legs attacked on the outside. Matt Ricky Morton's his way through this match, as he often does, taking much of the heat, selling the leg, that sort of thing. And Nick is, I love this, Nick is kicked off of the apron and splats on the floor, takes a full back bump on it. Matt shows signs of life, but Cash with a huge dive to the outside. Just the form, he splays his arms out, and like he's diving into somebody's waiting arms, or a big, cushion or something, but he, on the outside. But Cash crashes into the barricade doing that dive. Another huge tumble over the corner to the outside as well. Matt pulls an Arn Anderson, but it doesn't look nearly as good when he does the fake punch, the duck, catch him to DDT. Hot tag to Nick. We get a we get bust out Hall of Fame tag team references. You've got like the heart attack, you've got the double team bulldog, like the Steiner brothers, the Bucks do the 3D and the Twist of Fate and the Swanton. That's definitely like, talk about eras. Talk about the symbolism of that, where FTR cops the Hart Foundation and the Steiner brothers. That's like old school. That's gritty. That's fundamentals. And then you've got the Spot Monkeys of Edge and Christian, or actually the Dudley Boys, I should say, and the Hardy Boys, which are obviously the bigger influences for Matt and Nick. I thought that was very symbolic and very on point. Great moment where Matt and Dax each try like coming back with strikes, but they hurt themselves with their respective injuries. Like Dax hurts his hand, Matt hurts his foot. Then FTR, speaking of like finishers stolen from other teams, FTR take DIY's finisher as well. The Bucks hit the BTE trigger, but the cover's broken up. Matt wants to hit Dax with the chair, which will DQ them, and Dax is asking for it, but, Matt says no. The Meltzer driver is stopped. Cash just hurls Nick into the timekeeper's table, which is a big bump there. A mind breaker on Matt ends with a rope break. Cash pulling off Matt's shoe. Oh, the dirty bastard attacking the ankle. Really beat it up there. Submission's broken up with a 450 by Nick. Cash knocks out Matt, decides to go for a springboard 450, way outside of the comfort zone there, but he whiffs it, walks into a super kick, and Matt covers to pin and win, and the Young Bucks, they're not breaking up here, or it wasn't breaking up, they will... I phrased that totally wrong. The Young Bucks, who were at risk of never challenging for the tag titles again, they prove everyone wrong, and they win the belts for the first time finally. And so, yay, happy days for the Young Bucks. I give it 5 stars. I think it was a fantastic match. Great selling by Matt throughout. I like the nods to the tag teams of yore. I thought that was a very fitting tribute in a match such as this, where it's, there's all this hype and all this pressure for all the years they were spending building it up. I think they definitely hit the mark. I think they lived up to the hype. It was a very fun match, and I think it played up to both their styles. They got to show off all they can do, or at least a good sampling of what they can do. Then after the match, Kenny Omega shows up to celebrate with the Bucks. Then lurking in the distance, like way back in the tunnel, you see Hangman Page just sitting there, just watching, just looking on. Again, like this, whatever long-term thing they got planned for Page, I want to see it. I want to get to that point now. I feel like, okay, TikTok, we've waited enough. I want to see the payoff now. Hang on. H2O break. All right. With that in mind, we then go to the Elite Deletion match as Matt Hardy takes on Hangman. Sorry, I saw the name Hangman on the chat, so I got distracted. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara in the feud that will not die, but it has to after this show. After this match, I bet it's over. It is a cinematic match in the Hardy compound. I mean, I say cinematic. It's cinematic in the sense that it was shot out in the field. It doesn't... Only in the end does it finally kind of incorporate the cinematic tools of, like, select editing and like a score and stuff like that, but we'll get to that. So it begins as Sammy rolls up in a golf cart, a custom golf cart that says Spanish God, and then he enters the compound. Matt Hardy appears and he rolls up in a monster truck, runs over the golf cart. Sammy's presumed dead, but it turns out Sammy got out and he hits Matt with a trash can, and so the brawl begins, fighting their way toward the actual house. And they're fighting near this fountain, and Matt pulls out the staff of Mephistopheles, as Excalibur says, and Jarro's like, oh yeah, of course. How would you not know that? I just love how sometimes JR just doesn't give a shit, and someone's like, yeah, that's weird. We get a few proper spots in the ring before Matt brings out a table. There's a powerbomb through it. Then now comes Santana and Ortiz from the inner circle, and they make the save. Matt has called in the services of Private Party, which I thought it was weird. Why? Because the thing begins, and Matt's like calling his friends, like, if stuff goes down, then I'll send the call and bring you over. Like, if you know or if you suspect that, have them there to begin with. So Private Party rolls up there. They show up, and JR with the strangest line of the night where he says, they're dressed like funky, superheroes. Good cover, JR. Good save. I don't know what you were going for, but I don't know if superheroes is the word I was thinking of when I saw them just in their tracksuits. They brawl with Santana and Ortiz. The fireworks come out. Matt shoots first, but Sammy fires back. There's still a whole ass fight going on in the ring with these other two teams. Sammy is shot with fireworks as he slips around the mud, and Matt tells him the old folks will think this is a mud show. I see what you did there, Matt. Suddenly a masked figure has the Hurricane hostage. Like, this is a 1-2 punch of wild cameos. First you see the Hurricane, which you can really tell because the distinctive outfit, and then the dude unmasks, and it's Gangrel. Hell yeah, Gangrel, man, he's awesome. I love Gangrel. He's the best. So he shows up here. He's got the Hurricane hostage for some reason. Hurricane is thrown into the lake of reincarnation and returns as Gregory Helms, mild-mannered reporter. Sammy throws him in again. Now everyone is back in the ring. Matt and Sammy break off from the pack. Helms is the Hurricane again. They end up in the Dome of Deletion, which is full of plunder and throwbacks to previous deletions. There's the rocking chair, the mower of lawn. There's the piano, whatnot. Sammy undoes the bottom rope and chokes out Matt for a bit. Climbs a very tall ladder and does a swanton through a table onto Matt. And then there's a kick out though. Matt hits Twist of Fate, tackles Sammy off the apron, and we get a recreation of the controversial spot from All Out where they fall through the two tables, and you don't see them land. They very deliberately cut away, and you see them fall out of frame or behind the ring, so you don't see where they land. And then we cut back to it, and like Sammy is bleeding from the back of his head. I'm like, that I thought was, I don't know if I'd say it's not tasteless. I think it's kind of tacky that they took this real life thing that like legitimately pissed people off, and they're like, let's recreate it and just have it happen to Sammy, but we'll do it in a way that's safe. You know, we'll do it like protected this time. So that I thought was weird. And then like Matt basically murders Sammy, like jabs him in the head with the edge of the chair. Matt bashing his head with a chair on the concrete, then pins him to win. And then he and Private Party dump him into a trash can, put the trash can in the bed of a truck, and Senor Benjamin drives off. Rebby Sky plays them off as the match is officially over. God. I think the most I could give it's 3.5, and that's generous. It was a wild ride, to be sure. A lot of it felt just like derivative of like every other deletion match we've seen on the Hardy compound, which can be fun. And the first time they did it was amazing. Every time they've done it, though, like a little bit of what made it unique and so special has been stripped away, and it's now made its way across 3 companies: Impact, WWE, and now in AEW. And again, I think it's a testament to Matt and his ability as a storyteller and as a character to like get that concept over in 3 different companies. Not everybody could do that, so yay Matt for that. But I just think that by now, like 2020, it's like, show us something new. We just saw a lot of like familiar spots, and like, yay, it's good, but like, you know, give us something new is what I would say. That being said, my face lit up when I watched Hurricane and Gangrel show up. That made my night almost. I thought it was a good way to get Private Party and Santana and Ortiz also involved in the show. Ending got a little bit dark. It was a little bit dark, but I think that it was, at least they did it in a safe way. We then go to Jake Roberts and Lance Archer promo. Jake says somebody's got to challenge Lance. He's just killing people left and right. For God's sake, somebody stop this man's path of destruction before he kills again. And then Archer says he wants to take on anybody and everybody will die. I'm really curious what they'll do with Archer. I mean, I feel like since like he lost the TNT Championship Finals, he lost the AEW title match with Moxley, like what will you do with him now that he's lost these 2 big title matches over time? I hope they can keep him relevant, keep him strong. But yeah, this is another promo kind of building up Lance Archer and the inevitability he will do something. Next matchup, if MJF wins against Chris Jericho here, he will join the Inner Circle. I loved MJF's little troll job at the entrance, coming out with the Jericho light-up vest and the jacket and the pose, I should say. As the match begins, MJF with a bit too much hot dogging, and he pays for it on the outside. Jericho goes for the Judas effect, but he bangs his elbow onto the ring post. Man, you ever get like your funny bone hit, like when you're in school, like you hit your desk or something like that? Imagine doing the Judas effect to a ring post. That has to be a lot worse than that. MJF takes over working the arm, and Jericho is definitely is playing babyface, I would say. He's definitely more babyface than heel in this thing, except for his interactions with Aubrey Edwards. Still gets to heel on Aubrey now and then. Even has a top rope Frankensteiner, which I thought was pretty cool. Jericho with the walls on MJF, but he powers through it. Codebreaker through the ropes and the Heat Seeker. There's a kick out. MJF catches the Judas effect into the armbar. We get a rope break though. Out comes Wardlow with the big old MacGuffin, the diamond ring. MJF goes to the punch, but Jericho moves. Jake Hager throws in the bat and he's ready to strike, but then MJF pulls a good old Eddie Guerrero spot. He plays dead, and as Jericho is arguing with the referee, MJF rolls Jericho up and wins. So he is now going to join the Inner Circle. What a sneaky sneak MJF had with that finish there. I actually really enjoyed the finish. Jericho shakes MJF's hand, welcomes he and Wardlow into the group, and the possibilities of what MJF can do in the Inner Circle are quite vast and numerous and deep, and we'll have to see where it goes with this. I give it 3 stars. Not a spectacular match, but they hit all the big character marks, and so I appreciate that their gimmicks got over it that way. I did like the finish. I think it saved face for both guys. Jericho didn't have to get knocked out by MJF. They're gonna be buddies. I think MJF looking like a star here with the guys he's faced this year. It's been really impressive. Cody, Moxley, and now Jericho. I mean, I'm really liking MJF's trajectory at this point. Our main event. Ooh, this is good. I Quit match, AEW Championship. Jon Moxley defending against Eddie Kingston, who paid tribute to not only Misawa with his fresh green and silver gear, but also to Tracy Smothers, the T-shirt he wore to the ring. And this is it's a really cool the history behind it. The history between Moxley and Kingston, the history between Kingston and the referee Bryce Remsburg, the history with them and with Excalibur on commentary, and the background he provided for them I thought was really cool. The frequent references and tributes to Sweet and Sour Larry Sweeney I thought was great. Even at the top of the show you hear Excalibur say 12 large, brother. That's a Larry Sweeney reference. Hang on. So the guys trade strikes at the start. Brawl on the outside. Kingston brings in a chair, but Moxley brings a barbed wire bat. That escalated quickly because suddenly, Moxley's grinding into Eddie's face. Both men are bleeding now. There's eye gouging. There's choking. Things get ugly in a hurry with this match. It's not a pretty match by any sense of the imagination, but it is an intense brawl for sure. Kingston with his great evil look in his eyes. He beats Moxley with the chair, wraps the barbed wire around his hand, and does some dirty work there. The spinning bat fist, the back fist, which at first I thought was with the barbed wire assist, but I don't think that was the case. Eddie setting up some chairs, but Moxley suplexes him onto them. Kingston then brings up the thumbtacks, and Moxley takes the bump into the tacks. I don't think Kingston really took a bump into the tacks in this match. It was all Moxley here. Eddie then brings in the rubbing alcohol and pours it on Moxley's back, which was good God. Even if it's gimmicked, which it could have been. But I think Eddie actually removed the seal, so maybe it was real. But even if it were gimmicked, just the visual of that and the psychosomatic, sympathy pains, they were real for that. They were real for sure. Moxley with a big pile driver and a paradigm shift. He wraps the barbed wire around his arm and says it's over. There's no way out, Kingston. Eddie flips him the single deuce, the bird. Bulldog choke with the barbed wire buff. And referee Bryce Remsburg is just pleading with Eddie to quit. You almost see tears in his eyes. Very emotional here. Eddie finally says he quits. Moxley wins. That was pretty good stuff, man. I give it 4 stars out of 5. It was a big, brutal fight. Some wild moments I never thought I would see. Nice dramatic work between Moxley and Kingston, and again the aforementioned referee in terms of body language and how they had to push themselves through the emotional strain of what they were doing, because you could tell the connection these 3 guys have, it was just still so strong. You tell it was tough. Moxley helps Kingston up after the match, and he wants none of it. Kenny Omega shows up. He is the new #1 contender. They have a stare down, and then Moxley stands tall as we fade to black. And so that was the end of that match, the end of the show. And with that in mind, now's the time. If you've never seen my live reviews for SmackDown and stuff, this is the time where I get rid of this lower third, boop, and give you this lower third, my grade for the show. B+ is what I think this show was overall. I think it was a really strong showing. Overall, I think the matches were high quality from top to bottom, with a couple of nitpicks here and there. I thought the end of the women's match dragged it down considerably for me. And MJF and Jericho was kind of an underwhelming performance, but the right person went over, and I think that there was still some good bits to be had in that match. The tag match, Omega and Page, and the I Quit match in particular were stellar. The Elite Deletion, I've been a strong proponent of cinematic matches and the deletion matches. If you followed me long enough, you know that's true. So I'm like, and there were some good references. I laughed my ass off at a lot of stuff. The long-term storytelling reference that Matt had with he and Hurricane was great. And just like, it's yeah, I was really entertained by it to a point, but I'm like, it felt like a greatest hits in a way. And I'm like, yeah, it's nice. It's like candy. It's the dopamine rush, but then like, okay, give us something more. Like, you've literally murdered Sammy Guevara. Where do you go from there? Let's put a break on the setting is what I'm trying to get at, because they're risking really just pounding it into the ground and beating it to death. So that's my take on it. Let me know what grades you wanted to give it. I see B+. Let's see here. What other grades? Aiden Graves give it A-. Good stuff. Yeah, I think it was a very strong show. There was nothing about it that made me go, oh, that fucking sucked. Like, I mean, the women's match was what it was. I think it was good until it wasn't. Like, I think the quality was fine, and then they got too cute in the finish, and I kind of dragged it down for me. Seeing some B's, B-, B+, A's, A-. Yeah, thank you guys for your contributions. We are going to Square in 7. I don't know what that's a reference to. All right, with that, now we move on to the Super Chats, where I read all your Super Chats and answer y'all's questions. Quote the Raven 79 with $3 Super Chat. Here's the first one here, asking if I think Matt Hardy will lose a deletion match. If he ever does lose a deletion match, it should be the last one, I think. I don't know what's going to happen next year or like 10 years from now. You know, I feel that, like I said, they need to take a break from it, because they run the risk of just making, unless you add some real shit to it, because this has felt a lot like Final Deletion. How ironic. The Final Deletion was the first deletion, and that was, that was the gold standard. I don't think you could really top that, and they've tried, and there's been some moments that felt like epic, but I just don't, it was what it was. But yeah, I think if he does lose one, it should be his last. Big fella, thanks. $5 Super Chat. I know it's off topic, but what do you think of Impact's murder mystery? Is it too melodramatic, or is it just right? Well, thank you, big fella. Thanks for asking that question. I've not followed it too closely. I saw the wedding clip. I saw Johnny Bravo get shot. I don't think it's a murder. I think he's in critical condition, like he's in a coma or something. But what do I think about it? That scene where Johnny Bravo got shot, you could not do that in a live audience with people in there. Like, you couldn't have done that back in January, let's just say. It can only be done in a setting where there's like no fans and there's no confusion. Oh my God, someone actually got shot. So I think good on them to Impact for taking that risk. Impact loves murdering people, man. Like, that's how they're differentiated themselves in this pandemic era. WWE had the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse, and they had the Thunderdome. AEW had Stadium Stampede, and Impact murders people. ROH is pure wrestling. It all makes sense. Hey, there's no bad ideas right now in wrestling at this point. There's no bad ideas. You just throw things at the wall and see what sticks. So, it's like, if it helps get buzz, yeah, that's fine. That's my thoughts on the Impact thing. I need to watch it and actually follow it, though, to have a better opinion. Ken terminated by DQ, $5 Super Chat. Zane, I'm a huge fan of your classic pay-per-view reviews. Do you upload them early for Patreon members? Yes, I do. For a while I didn't, and then I'm like, why am I not doing this? Like, it was because I was doing the classic pay-per-view long form review, alternating, and for some reason I was only doing early release on the long forms, and I was like, why am I doing that? I should be, get more bang for your buck. If you're a Patreon member, you should get the classics 2 days early, like you do the other Wednesday videos. So yes, that is the deal. You get. And as long as we're here, and I'm here to plug Patreon, let me tell you about some other perks you can get for Patreon. Patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. For $1 a month, you get access to any exclusive videos and old episode commentary that I put out. The exclusive videos include It Came From Memphis, which just last week before Halloween, I posted a new one about Nightmare Freddy. It Came From Memphis is my kind of like micro episode serial about the strangest gimmicks in Memphis wrestling. So there's a lot of there's gold in them thar Mid-South Coliseums. And so if you like your Memphis history, just like seeing some goofy stuff about the history and like all the different creepy, weird monsters Jerry Lawler had to fight, he booked himself to fight, then you can go watch that. $5 a month, you get early access to the Wednesday videos. For $10 a month, you get to nominate those classic pay-per-view reviews that guys like Ken love so much. $20 a month, you get some mailers, you get signed WCW trading card and some Wrestling with Regret goodies, and then at the $40, and you also get access to my Q&A audios as well. And the $40 level, you get all that plus the exclusive She's a Stunt Granny t-shirt. So now that I've rattled off all the perks you can get for patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret, you can go check that out. Josh Woodrum, $2 super chat. Kenny Omega or Adam Cole, who's better? Oh man, I'm gonna feel like a jerk because like I don't know, I can't definitively say, you know, like who is the best. I haven't seen enough of their body of work. Like Adam Cole stuff, I've never seen his ROH stuff, so all I really know to go off of is NXT. And he's been great in NXT. Kenny Omega, I've seen some of his New Japan stuff and his obviously his AEW work. I mean, just going off the stuff that I have seen, I would say that Kenny Omega is a stronger wrestler. I mean, it's all subjective and it's all like relative to experience. I mean, I'm sure some of y'all in the chat can probably have other takes about it, but my opinion, I think Kenny Omega is. I'm trying to compare not just in-ring work but also like character. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Honestly, I think Kenny Omega has more depth. I will say that. He is a much different vibe and delivery from Adam Cole, but I think Adam Cole has kind of like just one track where he just plays that one kind of role, that one kind of intensity. I think it can work in small doses, but I think that with Omega, he's shown a bit more range in his delivery and promos, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Undertaker, okay, Sam the 196 with $2 Australian. Good day. What's Undertaker's last great match that I remember? I mean, if you want to include the Boneyard match from this year's WrestleMania, I would say that was a great match. God, like, I feel like, oh God, was it 2015? Where, yeah, it must have been 2015, where he had kind of like a few matches in the year. I felt that was impressive. Like his match with Brock, his feud with Brock that summer, I thought was good. His last great match, not including Boneyard. I don't know. I'm a hard time remembering what his like. I know there's been more recently besides Mania 26, but that was a good match. Like, I'm seeing some people kind of rattle off in the chat their own opinions. CM Punk at Mania 29. I don't remember that much. I don't remember that match as well. Like, I mean, I watched Mania 29 and I saw that match and I liked it, but I don't know if it's like one that really resonates with me, honestly. But Boneyard match I thought was great, and honestly, like, I'm concerned about Survivor Series this year because they're advertising it's the final farewell of the Undertaker. I think it's just going to be like he stands there and he kind of looks around and his theme plays and people do thank you, take your chance, or 5 minutes or whatever. He might cut a promo, and if they're lucky, then we can get like maybe it's a ruse and somebody will show up and beat him up and it'll set up WrestleMania. That's a thought, but I mean, if they can just like end it at Survivor Series, like I will be impressed. So that's how I feel about Survivor Series this year. I hope it's not like dragging it on to something else for Mania. TR Sega with 200 yen. Brian, why not try a high skin fade with your stash? This was a fade, actually, when it was first cut. It's already kind of grown in. And the stash is not lasting long. Get a good look at this. It's not going to last forever. After like Mondays, for the latest, I'm getting rid of it. My wife actually said, like when I was first planning the idea of doing the facial hair thing, she said, you could have it for a week. Any longer, and I will divorce you. So that's why it's only going to be on my face for a week. I like it. There's a part of me that likes the mustache, and I'm just proud of the ability that I had to grow facial hair this year. Because I was afraid, I was always self-conscious about my ability to grow a beard, and I think this showed that I could do it. So maybe I'll make it an annual thing. I think an annual beard growth for charity. Then we shave it into something funny, wrestling related. And if you don't like how it looks, fine. I don't care. But yeah, it will be gone soon enough. Let's see here. I don't think there's been any new soups since TR Sega. So I'll probably wrap this up relatively soon. Yeah, I will say, if anything, the response to the beard fundraiser was seeing all the different people kind of like writing in what other options they wanted to see. Like the Lemmy Chops and the Scott Steiner. Don't think I didn't think about those, but I wanted to keep it to 4 just to make it easy, so I didn't want to try and like dilute the vote. But yeah, if I make it an annual thing, yeah, there will definitely be like different crazy ass, facial hairs that, ones that didn't get picked, and I'll bring them back, or the wild ones that got requested. Like, yeah, Lemmy Chops is definitely, I'm excited about the prospect of doing that one. Maybe I can actually, if Lemmy Chops wins, then maybe if I do a Triple H impression, I can like upgrade and do from like this to this, and then it'll look really authentic. Sam the One again with $2 Australian. What about one more title run for John Cena? Ooh. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened one day. I am not banking on it. And I think that if he tied it with Flair and then never won another belt, that'd be fine. But I mean, don't ever rule it out, I say. I mean, like, who's to say, 4 or 5 years from now, we won't get something where, like, John Cena comes back, kind of what The Rock did, and then, like, Cena comes back to make somebody, and along the way, he wins a championship. I can believe that happening, but who's to say? I don't think he needs it, but if he had it, I wouldn't be like, gnashing of teeth, Super Cena, I wouldn't do that. So that's kind of my thought on the possibility of a 17th John Cena championship reign. It could happen, but I'm not holding my breath, basically. Oh man, how long is this stream gone? We're at 716 views. Thank you guys, by the way. I don't often, I can't remember the last time I did a live stream for a pay-per-view review, and I know that the live streams, the live videos are polarizing. They are what used to be the Roman Reigns of my channel, lives and not lives. But this has been fun. I'm going to probably wrap it up there. Those are my thoughts on Full Gear. Thank you all so much for watching this live stream, and thank you to those of you who contributed to the Super Chat. And yeah, I'll be back here doing live once again this Friday night, or next Friday night, I should say, with the SmackDown review. If you want to see more of the live stuff, if you're new to the live format, you want to see more of this, it's once a week doing the SmackDown review, Friday nights. And that's pretty much all I gotta say. What's left to plug? There's Facebook, Wrestling with Regret, Twitter, at ZManBrianZane, Instagram, at Brian Zane. I'm on Cameo, and I'm having fun with that. I just did another birthday wish cameo today, this morning as a matter of fact. Dearmid was the guy's name, and he wanted a birthday shout out. So that those are pretty fun. Did I read those $5? I read them all. I read all the donations, big. So yeah, that is my stance on that. I plugged Cameo for you guys. And yeah, if you've not checked out, this is kind of a deep a deep tease or a deep plug. Oh, Purest Form of Peace, $1 super chat. Thank you. If you've not seen the last live thing I did, which was or one of the last live things, Just Another Romantic Wrestling Comedy, live watching and riffing with Colt Cabana and April Hunter. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it definitely opens up the possibility to do more. Maybe as early as next month. Another bad movie you might want to see me riff. But it's been fun, folks. Just remember, the influencer loves ya. I'm Brian Zane. I'll see you next time. And once again, thanks for stopping by this here Full Gear 2020.